I don't even know how I'm gonna do this. I kind of just clicked record and I'm gonna go with it. Probably gonna yap a lot, so just get ready for that. Today I want to talk about my testimony, how I found Christ, and how he helped me with things in my life that brought me closer to him. Now I will say, if you expect me to stay on track, very wrong. This is going to be all over the place, even on the deep stuff, so kind of just get ready for that. Also, for the people that just watch my gaming videos and stuff, I will say a reason why I haven't been uploading was from just a lot of stress, a lot of worry, and just nervousness for what YouTube is going to become for me. And I'm going to talk a little bit more on that later in this. So let's just go ahead and start. So first off, I'm going to start off with how I was like introduced to God, Christianity, and all that. So like this is like the elementary school chapter, whatever you want to call it. So when I was in elementary school, I did quote unquote believe in God. It was more I knew he existed and my family was Christian, but I would also go to vacation Bible school, which is like a thing where you learn a lesson and then mess around with church activities. But I never truly had a relationship with God, besides tiny little encounters with him. One that was always happening is when me and my brothers would go on bike rides, and I would always say, God, please just let this wind blow. And every single time that I said that, it would. Which, you can call it what you want. I always thought that was really cool. I didn't really think much of it then, but it also like confirmed to like my little 8-year-old, 7-year-old brain that God was real. Then towards like the middle and end of the elementary school era, we'll call it that, whatever, my peepaw, aka my grandpa, passed away. Now, before I get deeper into all this, when I start talking about certain people in my life or certain issues that I had, a lot of this is past tense, and I don't mean to offend nobody or talk bad about anybody. This is just my standing point, how everything changed me. And I love and care about every single person that I'm going to be talking about now. I'm just saying, I don't mean nothing by it. Anyways, about my people, I wish I made more memories with him. He was awesome from what I do remember, but he like passed away. I think I was like, I don't know, I think I was like 10 or something. But we would always go over to his house, have like cookouts, see family on like almost every weekend. At least that's how I remember it. And my mom was so broken. Anyways, after his passing, I was in my room one day and I don't remember why I was praying for my mom, but I was on my knees and head on my ground, kind of like you'd see in like those like almost memes, but like people actually do pray like that. I'm not trying to, you know, talk bad about anybody, but basically, I was bowing down to God and I was praying. And I do not remember what that prayer was about at all, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But I was almost in tears while I was praying. And while I was, you know, in the midst of it, I felt just a hand right on the left side of my shoulder, like my back and stuff. And dude, man, I wish I experienced that more because that was awesome. And I remember it so vividly, so freaking vividly. It was the coolest experience I ever had. But that big encounter with God, and just I started praying a little bit more after that, not too much. I was still little and didn't understand much, but it's kind of when I started to claim to be a Christian, and I got baptized pretty later after that, not super soon, but later on. But anyways, keep in mind that claim to be a Christian part, because trust me, it was just a claim, a title, nothing else. So this is the second quote-unquote chapter, and this one was probably where I learned what true forgiveness looked like, and this is with my sister and the situation with her. Now, I don't have the best relationship with my sister, and I'm not going to speak anymore on her now, but I am still praying for her and the situations and choices she has made. But this was the hardest part. Besides dealing with myself and all the stuff I had going on, forgiving my sister was something I told God over and over again I would never be able to do. So I have 2 brothers and 1 half sister, my little half part. I didn't know she was my half sister till like middle school, but that's not really important. A sister's a sister. So in all of this, before or after my peepaw's passing, my sister had accused my dad of quote unquote bad things. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you do. And because of that, he had gotten locked up and lost a really, really good job. Like really, really good job. But I remember going down with my nanny, aka my grandma, his mom, and to see him. And when I saw him there, dude, oh my gosh, I still remember that. And I was like, again, like 10 at the time. And I went up to the glass, we put like the hand on the glass, you guys know what I'm talking about. And man, I remember that so vividly. But anyways, the accusations were of course false. It was just claims. And my dad was let out on parole, but that didn't change the damage that my sister had already done at the time. Again, I forgive her. I'm not trying to talk bad about her, but I'm just trying to get my testimony. A lot of you understand. Those that don't, I'm sorry, but I'm not trying to talk bad about her. She then went to go live with my me mama, which was my mom's mom, my grandma. My dad eventually found another job. I don't know details because I was so young, but I'm sure his mom, my nanny, helped us until he got one. Because I do remember her coming down and staying with us for a pretty long time after all that happened, so most likely. But after that situation, my mom lost all contact with her side of the family, which really broke her. But I'm not really going to go into details about that either. Anyways, 6th and 7th grade, the beginning of middle school. Man, were these some times. So this was about the time where I started going downhills. Basically choosing to live in sin while still claiming to be a Christian. So it didn't really, make Christ look good in the long run. I apologize for that, Lord, but In 6th grade, I was pretty good in school. I'd always been in gifted classes, so school wasn't really the problem with grades and all that. The issue was going to middle school. You kind of lose all your friends because they either go to a different school or just change completely. Anyways, I started getting to know people, but I simply prefer to be alone, It's not like a lonely thing, it's just, I don't like talking to people, not my thing. But something that I mostly struggled with here was simply just not acknowledging or talking to God in any way. I really just kept that title as a Christian. So if people asked me, I would say, yeah, I'm a Christian. But then I'd turn around and then go cuss up a storm or lie like crazy or lust like crazy, which big thing. But because of that, and because I broke away from God, I started struggling with so many issues, like anger issues, depression, anxiety, and even a little bit of self-owie, if you know what I mean. Not a very good thing, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways, the main thing I struggled with, though, was my anger. I would punch holes in the walls, break stuff, get into very serious fights with my brother. One fight that we got into, this is kind of a funny story. I love my older brother now, by the way. Like, I think everybody that has a brother, especially like brother and brother instead of like sister and brother, when you grow up with a brother, y'all hate each other like your entire lives, and you swear, no, I'll never come see you when we're adults. But as soon as you get to like that 15-year-old range, for like me and my brother was like 18, you chill, there's no issue. But before that, me and my brother got into a lot of fights, and one was very serious when I had gotten mad. I don't know why I got so mad, but my brother kept like opening my door, and then I would go over there and shut it, and then he kept opening it, shut it, kept opening it, shut it, and then my anger issues, I got real mad. So I kicked my door, and then I kicked it kind of off the hinges, like I kicked it through the frame a little bit. And then he pushed it open and said I don't need to do that, so I slammed it and I kicked it again, and then it came off the hinges, and then I got real mad, so I tried to storm past him. And as I was doing that, I threw what I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was a present that my little brother had just gotten my mom, and it was 2 little glass gnomes thingies, or I don't know if it was glass, but like those sharp things gnomes are made of. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. Anyways, I threw them and they shattered against the wall. Now this set off, and my mom. My mom wasn't like mad at me. She was just like, why did you do that? And she was a little mad. Don't get me wrong, because that was a gift for her. I'd be mad too. I mean, heck. But then my brother got mad and he started yelling at me. And then I started to storm outside, and I slammed the door behind me. But before I got outside, my brother was getting mad. He tried to like pull away from him. As he did, he kind of like hit her in the nose a little bit, and it messed up her nose. Glad she's okay. But after that, he came outside, and then I was walking up our driveway, and he was like, you just gonna run away now? And so I turned around, skinny as crap. I wasn't about to do nothing, but I claimed I was. And so I picked up a shovel, and he picked up a golf club. Wait, huh? Yeah, so wait, this is how it happened. Hold on. I picked up a shovel, and then I swung it at him, missed completely. He grabbed it, and so I picked up a golf club, and he didn't swing very hard. My brother could have totally whooped me back then. But he swung the shovel, and I swung the golf club because he went overhand, so I went low. And he hit me on the top of the head, but I hit him right into his ribs. Dude, he had a big old bruise right there. But after that, that was our last fight. It was like one of those final matches, like a UFC title belt fight. It was kind of like that. It was crazy. But anyways, I should probably get back to the more serious things instead of ranting on about a fight with my brother. Moving on with my depression thingy. And it kind of arose from like stress, school, family issues, and just self-hate. I did not like myself in middle school at all because I was really skinny and I hated the way I looked like crazy. I had like one of those crazy side parts where I had like no hair on the left side of my head, but my hair went down to like right side of my chin. It was really bad. And so I began working out. But even when I got bigger, I still hated the way I looked because I still just saw myself as that skinny guy, I just didn't like the way I looked. So started getting depressed about it and not feeling very self-confident at all. Don't get me started on school. Our school sucked. I'm not going to name the school for reasons, but our school sucked. Some of my teachers were really chill though and amazing at what they did. Others kind of just threw down a sheet of paper and was like, yeah, this is y'all's schoolwork today. Thanks, man. Then I kind of had to worry about that middle school quote unquote fitting in thingy, which really contradicts what I said earlier about me being alone, but shut up. Yeah, but I still wanted to make friends, but I just couldn't at the time. But I eventually had a couple of friends from my elementary school come over there, and then one of my friends started making friends, and I became friends with her. That's just how that worked. And then the anxiety thing kind of just happened at the middle school age. So like womp womp, whenever you're in middle school, you'll have anxiety because it's that bad. But I do still have a really, really bad social anxiety though. I hardly leave my house because I get really freaking shaky in public or just nervous and fear of what people think of me, which I know God says not to worry about what people think, because we were made in his image, but it's still sometimes hard to do that because we are human. Anyways, let's get to the more impactful, serious things. That was like a chill pill, you know? That was like an appetizer. I just gave you your chips and queso and then told you to wait for the main course, but here we go. So this is like chapter 3, I think. Yeah, we'll go with that. It's the family issues part. This was the biggest thing. I love my family to death. They're great people, and it's exactly why I'm doing YouTube, and I'll get more into that later. So I said this earlier, everything I say is not meant to hurt anyone. I'm not trying to speak bad about anybody. Any of my family members, or anybody that I know is listening to this, just know I'm not speaking bad about anybody. I love every single one of y'all. But the past, kind of the whole point of a testimony, you know, it's how I got closer to God in this way. With my family, it was never really, really bad, like ever. But when my peepaw passed away, it started to really spiral, and my sister stuff, of course. But the more affected things were my parents. My mom, after my peepaw's passing, eventually met someone in which got her into doing, you know, not so good things, you know, the things school tells you to stay away from. Now, mind you, I didn't know about this for a while because my mom still kept it private and did not want her kids to get involved in that. Tried to keep it away from us as long as possible, which even though it's not a good thing, I do respect her for that. You know, it's a good thing to do. Eventually one night though, when my mom, dad, and little brother went down the dirt roads in one of our trucks, I saw this because I was on a walk, by the way, and soon while I was sitting at the stop sign, my dad came driving back with my mom and little brother walking, and my dad was yelling at her to get in, and my mom was yelling back. Eventually, my dad drove back to the house. I don't remember if my mom called her sister or how we ended up with her sister, but we ended up in a hotel. My dad was at the house alone. Me, my mom, and my brothers, and my mom's sister were in a hotel. We were told that my dad tried to hit my mom with a truck at this time, and we were also told not to answer my dad at all. By the way, it's false. I'm gonna go more into that. I just feel like I should throw that out there. While my dad was blowing up my phone with messages telling me how he loved me and would never hurt any of us, it genuinely hurt so bad. This was the first time I was genuinely like shown that type of thing. I didn't know what to do about it, and seeing my dad say all those things when I didn't understand anything at the time had me hurting like crazy, even if I didn't show it. Because you know how hard it is to see somebody you care about just text you over and over again trying to get you to answer, and you just can't answer them because somebody said not to, and they're sitting there pleading with the fact that they love you and would never hurt you or anybody. That sucks. It genuinely does. I also don't remember how old I was at the time, so let's just say like from 4th or 5th grade. I don't remember. It could have been later on, like 6 maybe. I don't think so though. I'm glad I forgot, but I don't know. All of a sudden my mom, after some time, eventually went back home, and while nothing went back to normal, it was way better. Now, a few years later again, probably like 7th, 8th, maybe 6th, I don't freaking know at this point, they got into another heated argument, and my mom went to stay with her sister, taking my little brother with her. And me and my older brother stayed at our house with my dad. I don't remember the context to any of this, but, you know, they just had an argument, and eventually it was just like, hey, little brother goes stay with her, and you two can stay here if you want. And we stayed there because we just wanted to. I don't know. It was our house. We didn't like leaving at the time. Then again, I don't know. It's the past, so either way, bad, but now, good. Thank God for protecting him. Thank God for bringing him back. And all glory goes to him. All the prayers were answered. I prayed so much for this family, man. So much. Soon enough, we were switching who we went with until eventually they stayed at the same house again. There are other sides of the story and other stories, but I don't feel like going through them. Anyways, y'all probably want to know where is God in this, and I'll tell you. The main thing I always used to pray about was my parents. And like I said, I prayed for my family a lot. I would pray for things to go back to normal, my mom to stop doing this sort of thing, and my mom to get better. Eventually, aka now, she did. And I'm so grateful and very, 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 very proud of her. She is 2 years clean, and I am so proud of her. But anyways, my relationship with my mom always went up and down, but it is so good now, and I'm very close with her. Sadly, my me mama passed away. My me mama was very Christian, She loved God. And when my mom was getting clean, they would talk a lot and they started to hang out again. And this is my mom's mom, by the way. And eventually, he convinced my mom to start going to church with her. And so that's what they did. But then me mama's cancer started getting worse. She had passed away. And this was like the devil hitting my mom with a 1-2 combo. Like crazy. Like, you know when you're like knock somebody out or watch a UFC fight and somebody gets knocked the slap out and then they're just sitting there and you're like, yeah, this is it. But then they just hop right back up. Like you swear this man was just laying on the ground, tooted up. But nah, he just fell over. He tripped. That's exactly what it was. My mom, I genuinely didn't know how she was going to take that. I thought it was going to be a rerun of everything that happened again, but no. She kept her promise to my mama, paid off of it. Again, she's 2 years clean, and I am extremely proud of her. But I am very grateful for my mama because my mom's side of the family wanted nothing to do with us for so long, simply because they always took my sister's side, and the fact that my mom kept going back to my dad because they loved each other. They had their ups and downs, but they do care and love each other, so it's like, what can you do? But my mom, after my mama passed away, did almost lose hope of getting clean. But I always made sure to let her know how proud I was of her. Even now, and this is when I was typing this, on August 25th, she will be 2 years clean, and I'm so proud of her. That was my script, but I am proud of her. That's already passed now. I am literally recording this on September 29th. Yeah, we're about to get into why I haven't really been uploading. But I do love my family so much, and I do thank God for what I went through so that I can have a testimony like this. And I thank God for all his help and the struggles, as well as bringing my family back together. I've been recording this for 28 minutes. It is 3 in the morning. Oh, let's let's get through this. There's one thing I want to talk about from my past. Anyways, from my past, around 8th grade and 9th, after I had went to, I think it was my 8th grade summer, where I went to stay with my grandpa. Down they like live 3 hours away from me. Not saying anywhere. Guys, you guys are weird. Anyways, I went to stay with them, and this is when I started working out so much more, and I started seeing so much progress, and I got big, man. Like I was big. I loved it because I got so many compliments, and I genuinely saw what other people were seeing now. But this is where pride snuck in, and I got really prideful. Now, what does a very lustful teenager do when they're very prideful? Probably didn't guess it, but yeah, I just talked to a lot of different girls. Now, how did I talk to these? I literally just went on Snapchat and through friends, added people, and started talking to them. There was a time where I was talking to like 4 girls at once, and I really am sorry for that. I hated the fact that I did that. Don't do that. Whoa. I hated the fact that I did that because that is like a thing that I'll stand 10 toes on. Cheating is so wrong, and doing that was cheating. I hated myself. But I was talking to them. A few of them, there was like one that I genuinely had interest in, but I was down that lustful road, and basically, I was basically just sinning a lot and worshiping sin at that time. And because of that, I expected to get, lustful things from them people. I didn't, however, I did not. I'm very glad. But there was eventually a time where I stopped talking to them and I started talking to someone else, just a one-on-one. And then I started talking lustful to that person, and then we broke up after like a month or 2. And then after that, I didn't date for I think months, like 4 or 5 months, or maybe it was a year. I don't know. I think it was a year. But then I started talking to this person, and now this was my biggest. I didn't even plan to talk about it. I kind of regret that I am about to, but people need to hear, you can relate. I hope maybe this will be a not really weird thing to relate to, but I hope none of you can relate to this. Anyways, I started talking to this girl, and now mind you, I think I was 14, 15 at the time. I think it was 14. But basically, was talking to this girl, and while we were talking, it eventually got to, teenage boy mind. Go with that. And because of that, those things didn't happen in real life, but they did over phone. And I really, really regret that, both on my behalf and hers, because that's not really something you can forget about, even in the slightest. And I genuinely hate the way that went, because that relationship was ran on that type of thing. It was like every day, and it was bad. And it lasted for I don't even think it lasted for a whole month. Maybe it did for a season. But I genuinely cannot believe that I did something like that. But I did turn away from that. Because of that, I decided not to date for a very, very long time. I have not dated for about 2 years now, which some of you might have not dated for longer, but anyways, 2 years without dating, and I've been kind of wanting to for a while now, but at the same time, I'm not confident in that right now. Anyways, let's move on. Why am I doing YouTube, and why is it gaming and anime rather than preaching the gospel, getting this across? Because I know a lot of Christians are probably wondering that. Like, if I'm trying to help people get closer to God, why don't I talk about it more in my videos and rather just play games? And now, this is a lot more simpler, but also more in depth. First things first, the reason I started YouTube was because ever since I was really, really young, ever since I was like 6 or 7, I've always wanted to be a YouTuber. And it's just something that was always on my mind. There were times where I wanted to be like a chef or an FBI agent and stuff like that. 2 jobs I actually wanted to do, by the way. But basically, YouTube has just always been on my mind. And I believe it was put there for a reason. And something else that was always put on my mind was wanting to help people. Now, I didn't really do that for a long time, but I've always been good at talking to people and just, you know, personal therapist type thing. But I've just been good at that type of thing. Anyways, I chose to do YouTube because it was always on my mind when I was little. And ever since I was like 6 or 7, I always wanted to do it. And the reason why I do gaming content, besides just like doing, like preaching the gospel or just telling people about Jesus more, is a lot simpler than you may think. But it's also like, I'm working on it. Now, I do believe I have been called to YouTube. And that's something that I stress about a lot now. And YouTube has caused me a lot of stress, and hence why I have not recorded this video. Because I don't feel like I'm deserving of it. God has given my channel so much growth. And I'm very grateful for it. And I wish I could be more grateful. Because I genuinely don't know how to like express certain feelings like that. Like, I don't know how to show gratefulness or how to show that I trust God and how to take action on them. I wish I could. I'm genuinely praying about it so much. So if you guys can, please pray for me for that, if you don't mind. I hate asking for people to pray for me, but please, because I need to know how to actually trust God and how to show that. I've always felt called to it. And with my channel, even when I didn't upload, it had the most growth. I prayed for God to let it fail so many times. I said, Lord, if I am not meant to do this, please do not let the devil interfere. Just show me. Let this fail. Let these videos fail and not let them do it. And while some of them, you know, didn't do the best, that's fine, because the others did. I made so much more videos than I have now last year when I first started on this channel. And while they weren't the best content, they weren't edited very well, they still hit like, you know, 100 to 300 views on average, with one hitting 900. But these videos, I have 3 with over 1K, and I have 2 with over 2K, and I have 1 with 3K. I'm extremely blessed. I'm extremely grateful because I did not expect it to do that. And it grew more with me not uploading and trying to find a way to connect with God than it did with anything else, with me uploading and then uploading and uploading. But I don't really know where to go from here. I am not very consistent, and I run mostly off of motivation rather than self-discipline, and I know in the long run that wouldn't be enough. And so that's why I doubt myself so much, and why I'm scared to fail, because a lot of people that know me are extremely supportive in this. Mind you, I am 16 right now. I'll be 17 in January. I do not have a job. I have never seen myself in a position. I cannot imagine myself in a position, a job other than YouTube. And while that may be bold, and some people are like, oh, well, if you had to, you would have to. And I know. And if I was ever asked by my parents to like, hey, why don't you try out a job? Even if they ever brought it up, I would immediately go sign like a resume or something, or just make one, or take a job interview or something, because I don't want to cause a burden for my parents. But I do want to retire them. I do want to help people get closer to God. And I'm not really sure how to do that right now, because the way that I do things, it's not going to be enough. Not for the long run. And I do pray a lot about that, because I didn't make this video. I've been saying I'm gonna make this video for like 2-3 months now, and I didn't because of doubt, fear, and stress, and mostly because of lust. Lust is still a huge thing for me, and I struggle with it badly. Very, very, very badly. I don't do it every day like I used to, and just recently I went a week without doing it. So I am getting better with it. But because of my failing with lust, I didn't see myself as deserving for YouTube. I didn't see myself as deserving for God's love, and I don't feel like I've ever earned it. Thing is we can't earn it, you know? He did that when he died on the cross. When he shed his blood, that is when we were forgiven. And I can tell myself that it's hard to believe that the God of the universe, the God of this world, and the one that created me has enough love to forgive me after I've disobeyed him this. But I do still feel called to YouTube, and I hope to be consistent with it like I was before, and I will strive to be. And anyways, the reason why I do gaming content rather than preaching the gospel, I don't want to say very recently, because it was more like a year ago, or like half a year ago. But I was in this Discord, and it's this YouTuber's Discord server that I watch, and I've been watching him since he had like, I think it was like 10K, maybe, I think it was less than that. And he's at like 50, 60K now, which good to him. I mean, very proud of bro. But I joined his Discord server. I joined it again after being in it when he first launched. But I left it a long time ago because I did not want to talk to anybody in there. I didn't want any friends, and I just wanted to get closer to God, and I couldn't focus on that if I was sitting on my phone all day just talking to people on Discord. So I separated mine. But recently, with a lot more self-control, I joined it to talk to a few. I still know a couple of people in there. There was this one time where I saw somebody talking about their Muslim belief or Islamic beliefs. I don't know if those are the same thing. My bad. But they were talking about it, and then I saw somebody talk about, like, they brought up Jesus, you know, and then I like responded to that, and I was like W or something, I don't know. And then people started to like hate on them and then come at them, calling him homophobic because he was a Christian. And I started to defend it, but in a nice way, surprisingly, because a lot of my friends that know me back then, I didn't talk very nice. So I was trying to sit down on like an even level with you. I was trying to understand where they were coming from, and a couple of them were just, you know, told that Christians were bad, and so that's why they were hating on me. They were posting like the pregnant guy emojis on everything that I would say to, like, I guess, try to annoy me. But it was like the first time I ever truly saw like just how mocked God truly. And I prayed for those people, which is something I didn't do a lot before. That I would usually just get mad and go off on them, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I was able to bear fruit for God, for Jesus, because it was very needed in that moment. And there were a few people who were genuinely kind. Even that person who was talking about their Islamic beliefs genuinely had a little bit of interest. So I talked to them a little bit, and I don't know if they've looked in on it lately, but I hope they have, on like the Bible and Jesus and all that. But there was also other people who, while disagreeing with me, were very kind, and I believe that God has planted a seed, and now we just gotta wait. And there were a lot of other people who just straight up mocked, who were very disrespectful to me, and genuinely, I'm surprised I had that much self-control. Glory to God, because I definitely couldn't do that. But I do pray for those people, and I do forgive them for what they said and all those things. But the reason why, back to YouTube, I'm doing gaming content, specifically like anime gaming content, but not strictly, is because that was an anime fan base. And if you know anything about the anime fan base, they don't like Christians in the slightest. At least a lot of them. I'm not trying to say anything bad about it, but I'm just trying to say it how it is. A lot of anime fans, some will just, you know, hey, I don't believe in Jesus, while others just openly mock him. And I want to help those people. I want to be able to tell those people about Jesus by, in my videos, bearing the fruit of him and putting verses at the end of my videos. So hopefully one of those verses reach people, and I pray over those verses to reach at least one person every single upload. And I do believe that God will work through me for his kingdom and for his glory. And I pray that he does, because I genuinely want people to experience that type of love. Because when my family went down that path, I almost lost everything. But Jesus showed me that he can bring everything back tenfold. And I'm very grateful for that. And I will continue to strive for YouTube. And I want to say for the glory of him. I do mean it partially. And I do mean it like 50%. But something I struggle with YouTube is it was my identity for a long time. Why I chose to still live. And that came with the self-owie thing. I was on the verge, and I wanted to find a reason to live, or I was not going to. And I was like, why not chase my dreams? You know, if I'm not going to do anything else, why not chase my dreams? And I'll do it for the money. Yeah, let's do it for the money. And I was like, no, let's do it to retire my parents. And I stood on that for a very long time, and I still do. It is mostly 90% to retire my parents. 10% it's for just easy life, I guess. Because truthfully, YouTube, after a certain point, whenever you have that success, is going to be easy. And while it's, you know, a little, I don't want to say prideful or greedy to say that, I do YouTube because I do love making videos. I do love sometimes editing. Sometimes it just stresses me out like crazy trying to get videos out on time. But it's always fun making videos to see what else I can do, to see how much my editing can improve with each video. And if you go back and watch some of my videos and the videos I make now, I believe they've improved so much. And I'm very glad about that. Glory to God for that. But it was my identity for a long time. I didn't realize that after doing a Bible study. And unironically, this wasn't like me talking to ChatGPT or anything, but I used ChatGPT for my Bible studies because I would have it show like 10 verses a day, and then it'd give context on those verses, and that's what I used it for. But I asked a question, and I was like, why do I just still feel like YouTube will never work out? And I don't want to fail people. I don't want to fail God, but I just don't know what to do. And ChatGPT, unironically, I genuinely think God helped me out here with this, because it said, I don't think you're afraid to fail people. I think you're afraid to lose yourself. Because it was true. YouTube was me, and that was my identity. That's why I was, you know, not doing self-owie. And because of that, after seeing that, I prayed and I asked God to live through me and work through me with YouTube, and to not let it be my identity. Because while I got baptized and I think I gave my life to Christ a long time ago, I don't think I ever started living for Christ until recently. And I continue to hope to do better, and I pray to do better with everything that I do, whether it be videos or just my everyday life. But yeah, that's basically my testimony. Anyways, I thank you guys for watching this, and I kind of went on a rant when I didn't have my script, and I recorded for an extra 20 minutes because of that. Whoopsie daisy.